for the passion of the gods, people, nature, and country. Welcome to the first novel of the Archipelago, entitled Blood and Gold, written by J.A. Batas. To the second part of the prologue, entitled The Mist by the Southern Isle. On the morning of Marcaine Island, they sail ahead before the sun rises. "How many miles, Aegal?" said Salagor. "Too far to count, Commander," Aegal said. He responded, nervous and chilled like the mist of winter. Sailors on a boat from the southern islanders came to Heraya City to train their arms and paddles for a swing and swim. One of them is a grand orcator from Shakar, sea assassins of the north, who pierces its heavy weapons on the fragile side of the rival side of their ships, to take a stealthy trip to the bottom of the ocean. Foggy island of Marcaine, Aegal, a nobleman, and Salagor Michaela can barely see a thing above the sea. Hearing whispers of the wind blowing chills from the phantasm, cracking of woods wrecking their earlobes as they row, Aegal's grey tunic is too unseen, and Salagor's broad black chestplate are way too intimidating for many eyes to see. By the armor plated his body, covered him well as an honor with confidence to go on the passageway to danger, in the absence of fear within his heart, a message from him. The Gyrek must sail with the pride of all fleet. There above the waters, doing their means of earning a living and waiting for the mist to flatten out the vast ocean. 5 of them shivers while working, stinging cold rushing in their nerves underneath the fisherman's loose brown fabric, insistent beyond seeking a way to get some necessary resources they will bring home before 8 of morning. Fishes are still plenty, seemingly jumping in the boat. A sigh of gratefulness and somewhat disappointing catch. So many, yet so less for many people. Helping each other, setting up a trap in the side of the boat with a carrot spiked in a hook, despite the lack of hope of catching for another batch. Aegal and Salagor, together with their comrades, tried to throw some spears, shoot some arrows of a whetted arrow point, but with all the throw of strings and sharp end of spears, nothing floats, even a buoyed seaweed. Then suddenly, doubtless and sensible by the dread, the 2 honorable men stood in the boat whilst the 3 fishermen bent their backs to do the duty. On a jest of cold stone and a blast of hearing, Salagor whispered in Aegal's ears. "Can you hear it?" said him. A shiver crawls out like a gory siren below the deep reef. Aegal commanded his fellow fishers to prone, hidden below the small boat's seats they go. "The men of Orbitaris are here again. Someone might shed blood. Listen carefully, and all of you, be wise enough to answer on what they has to say," Salagor said. The long sword is rested by the scabbard of Salagor, ready for a crash or a steel of determination, the respect for those who respect them as well, for the sworn sword oath and for the oaths of others. The fear on the eyes of the fishers, it was wobbling. The cold breached the sense of heated soul within their covers. It shuttles and pour. The smell of history prevails many deaths of blooded enemies. Then there, within and out of the mist, was 4 giant battleships with flags, sways the black lion surrounds the grey horizon, spiraling them slowly to cover the ghosts of the sea realm. They are coming closer and closer until they catch the glimpse of ghastly monstrosity hidden in the gloominess of maddening ashen fogs. It is said, written in the history as it may be rising again from the depths of forgotten graves. Ship captains and masters can be heard to which way for the formation. A medium-sized ship, all made for maritime combats, came close in the veil of the massive one, and it drew closer as if the smallest was going to be rammed by the rubbles. Turns its sides, now faces the main deck. Then there faces a bald man. High Lord can be seen with the lion's tooth dangling on his necklace. His black cloak clothed him. Archers on the gunport above him, ready to aim their arrows, intensifying their hopelessness of escape and fear of not going back to the ports any longer. Aegal cleared his throat, gazed into his eyes within living in fear. But Salagor shone his black eyes to them, a black, towering rage. "Who gave you the rights to sail here, pretty man?" said the rival commander. The bald man shouted. "Who are you? Did your ruler send you here and tell us to stop?" shouted Salagor. "You don't need to know, my lord. These waters that you roam to are part of our home. Trespassers! You boys are from Aluthea, aren't you?" said the rival commander. "We're just desperate to catch fish, my lord. Our people are hungry. We are carrying their hunger on our backs all day long. Please, let us free," Aegal said, roared the distinct knightly soul to them, trying his best to convince them to let alone their sail away from the surrounding multiple fleets. "And so do we. I respectfully command you to not sail here again. This part is ours, and do the southern part of the sea. Begone, little lords," shouted the rival commander. Then there a sudden silence. A wind blows along the cries for help. Both men in the small boat blew nothing but a face with unthankful awakening. Salagor's heart beats harmony beyond the valor. He has taken his vows that the sword set its edge to give life and death to the faces of men. They said, "Apace with my fellow soldiers, not common sight. Brave blood dashing about before the start of delight. Taking a shot from his lungs to shoot it out from his mouth. This is ours," he said in a low, whisper-like tone like a resentful living ghost. The bald man smiled its mockery. "What do you want? A fight? Not a realization from your little tiny mind had hit you, huh? You seem to not understand the situation, my lord. You seem to not look around and take a good look at yourselves. That you're all bunch of thieves of the waters," said the rival commander. The blaze started to heat up more and more, words by words touched by fears and hearts never tamed. And then the bald man tilted its head on the collar of his black cloak, and then suddenly, one of the fishermen who's concealed underneath the seat of the small boat began to rise. And there he shouted, "We don't want to fight at all. We should share these seas. We sat down here as a labor for our families, but then you decided to surround us with a battleship? Your intentions are absurd." A smoke of threat killing the smirk of his delight, getting siege of his soul, letting it all out the unknown man. The burning message of that fisherman blazing like an ember, and as sharp as the blade on the high man's dagger. The bald man just smiled. The only way to feel terror at the moment they stood was the numerous arrows above him. And so, his mouth pale began to open, and shouted an order, killing the lie on what Salagor had said. "Ready your bows!" Someone might shed blood. They heard it again. The deadly historical events that happened way back, the horrific Battle of the Carrick. Deploy the Orcator, where King Stalified the First have rode. Surrounds them the red waters poured like barrels filled blood of the fallen. Bring in a wail by every shout of loose of arrows raining above them dark skies. Remembering the time where his eyes caught the swaying swords and making precise cuts into their armored bodies, spilling their organs and blood upon the crude wooden floor while limping and growling. The bald man screamed a declaration in fright of getting killed by a horde of archers, including his comrades in the small boat. "Halt! Halt! Do not shoot! Do not shoot!" said Salagor. "Then do not speak against the high people in front of you if you don't want to get killed. The only time you all been good at fighting is when you killed Regan of Nezermag. Well, that's a pity of you. Teasing the fulfillment whilst your king dies in our own hands," said the rival commander. "But the only time we won this conflict is when we conquered this all. Taking and fighting for what is ours was sure to be our greatest victory," fighted Salagor. "Oh, funny coming from you. His son, the second of his name, was a frail man, yet you let him reign on that stupid throne." Then the commander called one of the servants from his awe. Then he whispered on the armored knight after it arrived on his stead. Noticed him, did not spit out his arguments anymore. He took a seat nearby the figurehead of the small boat to calm himself down, reminiscing the day he used his sharp steel to kill an enemy and saving lives to give a mortal a chance to live. Glancing at the waters, mirrored the clash of demons, men and fallen spirits crawled by power atop, an army done from slumbering in the depths of unknown abyss. There seems the shouting made him wary, looking at his friend Agal, who's also sitting at the side together with the fishermen. "What should we do, Agal?" said Salagor. "Commander, all we need to do is leave. This man might order his army to kill us. We had to leave, so we need to leave." Snacking up from the paddle to row, the spot is congested with massive ships circling their tiny boat. Then suddenly, "Go! Go ahead and row away, you schmucks! Do you think I'm not that blind to notice your attempt of leaving?" shouted the rival commander. Suddenly returned without any warnings, touching the harpoon swing gun in the balcony, and noticed the eyes, looking straight down at the small boat where Salagor and Agal and his men rest in fright. All that is known to them, a stern and cruel bloodthirsty flock of state, and a chief without honor. He turns around for the second time, but the intent was different. They heard the command which one of the knights in the small boat beside them, listening despite the mumbling of distant songs of wind. "Sir Ackley, take what they hauled off in that boat, and chase them before the island of Andanine. Make sure that you don't get caught by their guardsmen. Move!" A cruel steel and a pointy, deadly end of all sword and arrows was waiting to be out of the leash. All men must confess that was the land of either them or the other. Thinking about getting back to their homeland was far beyond like their means of survival. Country of Alothea, taking hold of two kingdoms which rules for centuries, the kingdom of Reviathan and kingdom of Sicaris. Given the freedom to sail, the paddle was out to row freely back to their home across the fading fogs. Then the massive ships were now diversified, making way for their fishing boat to cross safely. A sign of relief, but the report to tell the marshals after the journey was locked into his brain. On the spur of the moment, they heard another batch of rowing nearby. A small boat, bigger than them, approaches them, including the man gratified in his coat of seal. In front of him were the three heavily armored men. With quiver full of arrows, they are clothed with musketeer boots and a chainmail hood. Dark gray jerkins jacket with a lion seal in the right chest. "Go! Just row!" the chief archer shouted. The honorable man in black is physically tired but spiritually confident to speak up, since the ships are not turning their bows in the other way. "Do you think I'm scared, huh? You're threatening us. And there, we're guarded by archers again. What is your commander's motives?" Salagor weary have said. "I don't think I remember scaring you, sir. Our commander was the Baron of King Webster Clanel, my lord. He ordered us to follow you through Andanine Island. We only asked you to go away from our waters because this is ours since the Battle of the Carrick," the chief archer announced. "Who cares about that battle? We won it, and we already claimed what is ours," said Salagor. "Do not say that, dear sir. Remember our commander Jarvis? He warned you not to talk to us like that. And one thing for sure, who the hell brings sword on a boat?" A laughter was blasted before him. The fishermen and Agal were rowing. Salagor was trying to keep his fiery side of heart, but then he felt attacked by just a single throw of a word. He sat on the end of the boat again, and this time, he took away his eyes on the chief, thought to not bring another words for it to be irrelevant for the rivals. The cold seems to left a mark on him. Restless eyes are going to shut, feeling pitiful at the same tick of the clock during duty. Being present of the circle of sworn can be a little to no time. here today and gone tomorrow. As the tides turn around, his slumber has gone deeper. The dreams of conquest was destroyed by their own crown. His sentience is awakening, but everything was mere blurry and dreamy. All of a sudden, he heard voice of multiple men's muffled arguing, echoing in his ears. The agony of men. The stench of death was a sick irony. It continues, and the pain of every tone he heard is as cold as the winds of the sea, pouring. The sounds of blood tip over the flesh of a mortal, each strike, falling and dismembering, hungrily tearing open into their meat and shattering bone. Commander! Salagor, wake up! We are at the Andanine now. Salagor woke up from his slumber, feeling groggy from his great sleep. Confusion builds up upon his face. He can see the tower barrack of Andanine Island, but the sleep was all he gazed upon. It was fast. He saw Eagle rushing towards the nose of the boat, reaching for the passage slip on the dusted drawstring pouch pocket. Where are the three men with us? Said Salagor. What do you mean? There's only two of us here, Eagle said. He was also confused by Salagor's question. But Salagor saw a pouch of gold on the floor and too many fishes in the net that can feed nearly one brigade of soldiers, giving the boat a little tilt on the side. The gold was scattered like a pile of huge dust in glimmering radiance, but he saw something unusual. Salagor's eyes were nearer close when he saw blood underneath the pile of gold, spilling and crawling its ends outside the shimmering stones. Oh, there's so many fishes, but there in the golds, there is blood in the gold, Salagor whispered to him. I think you're tired, sir. We're here before dawn claiming golds with bare hands from the islands and hunting fishes. Another thing that you notice, sir, that is the fish blood you see underneath. Look at it. Eagle cracks a joke to make him wake up from his dreams back to reality. Lifting the net filled a sphere of fishes, lifted by a man who does not seem to wake from the edges of laughter. Arrival at the barrack castle of Andanine is special for them, with no signs of threat or damage dealt on both men. The castle was made out of grubby black stones covered with vines. Left side of the ruin is open havoc dealt by an explosion from the ancient battles. Then there at the summit of the castle, a blue flag at the battlements with a symbol of a black sea serpent, half submerged in a black border. Its wings wide and seems to be trying to fly away from the Black Sea, spiraling with the waves of cold air, drizzle upon the dreadful clouds and thanking the gods they never saw it flaps its wings above the world's shores. The ruined castle of Andanine Island, the first island discovered in the vicinity by the ice lords of Southern Kingdom Reviathan. The barrack castle was built 180 years ago and turned down at one battle held by King Agarino I, the king who never lost a battle until the beast came out of the fissures of the world's shores, littering the seas with dead people and crashed ships. As far as the people of Reviathan Kingdom can remember, the horrors happened beyond their eyes. The king's eyes wide as his last breath hisses from his lungs, and the lights leave his eyes. Lying on his arms, the dead king, and he can be seen by many as the one who killed him, never been accused of it as they see an arrow in his cold body. Two black knights halted them in the Andanine barrack castle. Behind them are squads which formed a line to welcome them. Some men are resting, cooking fishes on a campfire beside the ruined edge which depicts a hole. Can I have your slip? Melkar said, one of the knights that guards the Andanine castle. Eagle held the slip in the hands of Melkar. One of the guardsmen, heavily armored and with rested a long sword in their scabbard. Chestplate, the same as Commander Salagor, but they were equipped a heavy visor. Written in the slip is the code of the boat, name of the men on board and the sworn. 7385 Jehav Sakar, Sworn Sword, Salagor Michaela. Lone Fisherman, Aegal Venalia. The paper was wet and is easily to peel off, a reoccurring sense especially for the fishermen since the boat is small. Bigger boats have an enormous amount of paper since they have more people on board, but the paper's getting wet was minimal. The guardsman Melkar looked at the boat. He saw a lot of fish, a lot of gold, and a lot of blood. He was astonished that not even doubled men can catch a huge amount of resources like that. Stepping at the small boat to put a hand on the nets and at the small pouch of gold that was seldom to find by many. They were too astonished that they do not even get to inspect their bags for assured certainty. Eagle handed him a bag full of fishes and smiled, heavy enough to tilt his body in the side. This was a lot, Eagle. This is fit for the rest of us until another morning. You can pass now and head to Riela Port. I'll talk to you both when we get there. Then they turned their hilt and strands to the High Commander. They shone their eyes the chest plate with a small sigil, sword pointed up as a sign of a sworn sword, and bowed. The guardsmen got away, left the small boat, then give them pass to the huge waves of the north. They raise up their swords as a sign of appreciation, and bend their torso as well to mirror their respect. As they go, Salagar asks oneself if his dream is in accordance with reality. It seems that his mind is really on point of showing pretended sceneries that he felt attacked, feeling the genuine ill of the poison which the arrow within the bow is still pointing at him. He thought, is this another battle where the rival goes off? And then the resting stories awaken, tear asunder of 100 tales from those memories hidden in the shore, muffled screaming of the legends lost in the abyss. The bloodthirst, bloodshed by men and women, either innocent or within bound of valor. He thought, the death of history may revive itself whenever we choose to bring it back to life.